Hello, here with Greg Humphreys. Say hi,
Hello.
Greg.
Hey, how's it going?
We are here to talk about our January read, which was Play Bridge with Mike Lawrence. This is from 1983, and it was, I mean, obviously before either of us started playing bridge, and it was just striking to me how much bridge has changed. Both like just um, mechanically. Like they had to duplicate the boards themselves, and they had to match point the thing by hand because there was no ACBL score yet. And like worst of all, they smoked at the table. Can
Yeah,
you
I loved all those
imagine?
stories about smoking at the table.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, I used to fly on airplanes where people would smoke. Sure, I can imagine, but I never would have taken up the game.
Yeah, yeah. Like if they could think of one thing to make me quit bridge, this is my livelihood,
Yeah,
and smoking at the table would do it.
yeah.
Yeah. From a bridge standpoint, were there things that struck you as, you know, 40 years old?
Yeah, I think so. And by the way, while the book is that old, my recollection, and it's because there are multiple books by Mike Lawrence in this format. I think that this is a collection of hands that he's curated from past events that he's played in. And
Interesting.
so while the book is from 83, the hands themselves, and I think if you look at Play a Swiss Team of Four with Mike Lawrence, it actually has a list in the back of which tournaments the hands are from.
Hmm.
And they're quite a bit older and they span quite a bit of time. Don't quote me on that, but that's my recollection of it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I don't hardly recognize from the even the game I learned playing 20 years ago. The nature of preempts has changed. Thinking about like you're bidding after a minor, a major, stuff like that. I remember there was one hand in particular here where somebody had opened like two spades holding queen six then an ace or something like that, and they end up collecting a penalty against this, and they're talking at the end about how everyone has unkind things to say about this two spade opening. And like he's like not vulnerable in first seat, and like yeah, went down a bunch, but one of Mike's points on this was like, oh, live by the sword, die by the sword. And that's not untrue, but it just feels like conventional wisdom has shifted so much. There's also one where he um exercises judgment. I mean, I know that this is like unheard of. He exercises his judgment about opening a club and rebidding a spade with a like a 4 2 3 4, I don't know,
I had that
16
hand
15 count.
queued up for us to talk about.
Oh, great. And right. Yeah, thank you. This hand.
So
And
these two hands, he's both first seat vulnerable, both vulnerable.
I think that's the king of clubs and dummy, just standard deck.
No, 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 no. These are two different hands that
Oh,
he
I'm so sorry.
has
I thought
as
this was.
dealer.
I thought. I'm like, okay, okay,
No, no.
gotcha, gotcha,
So
gotcha, gotcha.
the one you were talking about is the one on the right,
Correct.
where he's like, I don't like that little doubleton in hearts. So
Yeah.
he opens a club and rebids a
Right.
spade. And he does say, I think this is probably going to be an anti-field choice.
He does.
Like, can you imagine any expert not opening this one no trump today?
I can imagine a lot of experts thinking it's too good to open a no trump, but I cannot imagine rejecting one no trump on the basis of the small doubleton heart. That being said, Mike Lawrence is an exceptional world class, once in a generation kind of bridge player, and it's not like he's a clown. And this hand has a lot of things about it that are very suit oriented, and it's absolutely true that you could have the auction one no three no, and they just rip five or six hearts on you, and you feel like an idiot when you're called for some large number of diamonds, or partner bid three no with like 4 3 3 3 and just didn't even stamen, because that also seems to be the way of things. Although we have puppet stamen, so maybe not that, but who knows, right? But no, I can't do that. In fact, I remember whenever I used to teach people bridge, people would have this instinct of like, I can't open one no trump with an unguarded suit. And I always remember, no one ever taught me this way. I remember telling them like, what do you mean? Like, one no trump shows 15 to 17 balance. That's all it shows. It doesn't show stoppers in anything ever.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and they just they hated this idea instinctively. And seeing Mike do that too, I was like, well, first of all, now I know where this stuff is coming from.
Yeah.
But also, it made me think more about like, is it stupid that there's no room for judgment on hands of this nature? I really don't know. I mean, if I were playing 15 to 17, I would open this hand a no trump. If I felt like I needed to upgrade it, I would upgrade it, but I certainly wouldn't rebid a spade because we have the agreement that rebidding a spade shows an unbalanced hand. And while I don't mind upgrading things out of 17, this is a really good 17.
Yeah.
I don't like distorting my shape.
But compare that to the hand on the left where he did open a no trump.
Yeah.
And like, if you're going to open and rebid spades, like having 5-4 instead of 4-4-3-2, like I would also, I mean, actually, I might not open that hand just because it's too strong, right? 17 with the 5-4.
Yeah. I mean,
You have a
there
lot of
there are some
values in
negative.
your short suits and the queen doubled, whatever. Like, but if you made me open one of these one no trump, I mean, I would certainly open the one on the right, right? If you said you can only open a no trump on one of these and the other you have to rebid the
That's
spade.
interesting. I feel it the other way. I mean, like, I don't love the idea. I mean, I would do it the other way because I would feel better about opening the right hand a club and rebidding two no. I would not open a club and rebid a spade.
Right,
But
right, right. Yeah.
the one on the left, like, this queen doubleton is something that like might need protection. If you told me this crazy thing, I mean, I would open both of them a no trump playing most structures. I mean, not our we play a slightly weaker no trump, so they're both out of our range. But
Right. Yeah. But it's just interesting the way he thinks about it.
yeah, well, what I think is most interesting about that particular hand is just that he plays what seems to me to be a more free wheeling style of bidding, where like he seems less constrained by hard and fast rules than I do, or we do, or I have in any of my partnerships. Like, we have rules, like opening a minor and rebidding a spade or a major shows an unbalanced hand, period, full stop. Like, you would just never do the balanced hand, and this small double is not part of the consideration. And his style seems to be more just like by feel and like, oh, this seems like more appropriate for this hand, so I'm going to do this. He doesn't have these extra sort of hard inferences about it. And in some ways that feels liberating because on some hands you can exercise your judgment. Because I absolutely agree that hand feels more suit oriented probably against the universe of all possible hands partner could have. I wouldn't be surprised if opening a club and rebidding a spade led to a better result more of the time,
Yeah.
particularly when partner has four spades and not enough to respond to a no trump. Like, it's a huge win. And also over that auction, like a club of diamond, rebidding a spade actually makes a lot of sense to me because partner's probably not going to have four hearts, so you're looking at your opponents having an 8-card heart fit,
At
making it
least.
much more likely it's getting led against no trump, and like it feels really bad. But if you have this agreement that a club, a diamond, a spade shows an unbalanced hand, you gain on all of the hands where partner knows he can count on you for some sort of major suit shortness or diamond shortness, I suppose. But you lose on hands, I guess, like this, where there's just sort of nothing.
Right.
You're constrained by your system, is my point. And
Sure.
I found myself a little bit jealous of feeling like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to not have all these, I wouldn't call them shackles, but like just
Yeah.
stuff where you're just like, oh, I can't deviate from this because partner will never
Right.
expect
Right.
whatever.
But against that, it's easier to bid with a partner like when you know what they have. And when one spade has such a wide range of hands that fall into it, it's harder. That's why we say it has to be unbalanced.
For sure.
Like,
There are times where, and I've seen you do this, so I know you agree with this. There are times where you deviate from your normal agreements because you feel like deceiving partner isn't going to be a problem on balance, like more than the opponents or more than whatever you gain by the information you do this. Psyching exclusion comes to mind, but that's a bit of an extreme. Yeah, I've seen one time I saw you do uh or well, it was a qubit, but your plan was to psych exclusion, and I support you. But where maybe what if your agreement is, yeah, it shows an unbalanced hand, but then you think, well, but over a club at diamond here, if I like show an unbalanced hand, I mean, most of the time partner doesn't have a game force or a hand that cares.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Yeah, some judgment is in there, and sometimes you do have a hand that, like, no matter what I do, it's going to mislead partner a little bit.
Mm,
So I can use my judgment there a little. I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely exists. I just think that the way I learned bridge, and certainly the way I've been playing bridge, the room for that is smaller, I think, than it was for Mike.
Yeah.
And
And some of that is probably system development still being somewhat in its infancy. Like, they alerted a lot of things, and you could tell from his description of them that they were like modern, newfangled
yeah,
things. And there's like a transfer or like a
right, right.
responsive double or something, right? Like things that would be on the card of a 50-point player today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me share one more with you.
Yeah.
So this is one that struck me. So a diamond pass, a heart, and partner makes a takeout double.
Yeah.
And like, what would your instinct and thought process be on this hand?
Well, it looks like both sides have roughly half the deck. We probably don't have a fit, but the opponents appear to have a diamond fit.
Maybe, yeah,
It wouldn't occur to me to take a call.
right,
I mean, I don't know
yeah,
what I could possibly bid. Two no trump isn't even natural here.
yeah,
And it's
and
also not a bid I would want to make.
no. So
But
Mike bid two spades
mhm.
on the theory that he has so many working cards,
Yeah.
and even though it's a 4-3, almost certainly it'll play okay. And I was shocked by this.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're gonna voluntarily play a 4-3, usually you want shortness in the three card hand, so you're roughing in the short suit, right? Like,
Yep.
if they play diamonds, they're gonna tap the long hand.
Yeah. Also, what's going on in the heart suit on this hand? Like, you have four, and your partner claims to be like,
They probably don't play support doubles. That was like not a thing
I
yet,
okay.
right? So they
Yeah. Oh,
could
yeah.
easily
Okay.
be 4-4-3-2 with
I
partner with the
support
doubleton and opener with
support
three.
redoubles,
Yeah, whatever.
whatever it is. Okay, they don't play this.
Like, I don't think they had been invented yet. Like, that's a Mextroth Rodwell thing.
Right. Okay, but if partner has three hearts, or no, two hearts.
Two
If
hearts.
partner's 4-2, I guess the best we could hope for is 4-2-2-5. I'm just saying,
Right.
like, if they're 4-2-3-4, then the opponents don't even have a diamond fit.
Yeah.
But even so, like, you're getting tapped at the long hand. You're not roughing anything. Yes, your cards are working, but
Right.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
very surprising. I wouldn't
there's
even
there's
occur to me.
something to be said for double, and he does mention that. He
Mhm.
said if we were playing an extension of the responsive double, like, but they would play it as penalty. Excuse me. That's how
Right.
much bridge has changed. But like, if you're gonna take a call, yeah, double in case partner is 4-2-2 or 2-4-2-5, something going for it. You
Mhm.
probably don't need to protect these
Do you
kings
think
because
this double?
partner
Do you think this double denies four spades? If I have values to bid and four spades, aren't I always bidding two spades?
always.
So this
Yeah.
double has to be like three spades and clubs
Yeah.
and values, but not necessarily willing to go to the three level.
Yeah. Or like, want to suggest a like,
You have to have spade tolerance. Like if you
yeah,
just had
I
one,
think
you would bid it. So like, yeah, I mean, it's
because
very
four
descriptive.
three 4-3 fits play best when the four card hand has strong trumps. And so if I'm going to suggest a 4-3 fit, I'm often like, are your trumps good enough to do that? Right? Like opposite ace queen fourth, this could work. Opposite for little or even queen fourth, like it might not be as good.
Yeah,
I don't know. Um, that
fascinating.
was just one. There was another one that both of us flagged where dummy had king jack of some suit and Mike had ace 10 third or fourth or something, and he led the suit, being like, if partner has the queen, Claire's getting this right anyway, and I might as well knock out the king and set up my ace 10 behind the jack.
Yep.
And if Declare has the queen, all I'm getting is my ace anyway. I'm not actually doing anything. Like, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it almost costs nothing. I found that this was a real blind spot.
Yeah.
I
And
remember
it's
reading
just
this
like,
hand and I was just like, oh well, I'm never switching to that. Like, who switches into dummies tennis when real like that thought process is so shallow.
yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
very
It's just so like ingrained. Why would you switch into King Jack in the dummy?
I think it's honestly, it's you know how when you teach bridge to beginners, you teach them a lot of like nursery rhyme bridge, like eight ever, nine never, and all this stuff, and lead up to weakness and through strength. I think it's that. I think it's little vestigial bits of that still kicking around in my brain where I look at King Jack fourth in the dummy and I'm just like, well, not that.
Not that. Yeah,
Because I think
exactly.
there are still areas where like I rely on things like that as a bit of a crutch and don't visualize. And I'm like, well, let's in order to simplify the visualization process, let's eliminate the things that are clearly stupid, and that prevents me from doing things like leading dummies solid suit to deny an entry or break up a squeeze, or shifting into dummies tennis to create a like this, where it's like no cost but could be good. I think that sort of visualization on defense has got to be the worst part of my game by far.
Yeah. And
Something there
that's
was,
the,
yeah,
the
good,
sort of thing that is like most useful in a book like this
absolutely,
is his thought process, doing things that we wouldn't do, whether it's bidding two spades on that previous hand or leading into the King Jack.
yeah. That's one of the reasons that I think learning to get better at bridge or maybe anything by watching, or I mean, not necessarily watching, but by seeing an expert do something and then having access to their thought process is a really fantastic way to learn.
This book is out of print.
That's a
Like a
shame.
lot a lot of people had a really hard time finding it because they wanted to read along with us.
Oh, that's too bad. I love this book.
It would be great to update it. Uh, like we updated Kit's points, and it needed less updating than I had kind of expected. But we modernized some of the bidding and things like that.
Right.
I wonder, because like I just love this style
I do like this
and I
style a
love
lot.
Mike's
And
writing.
if anyone has an opportunity to get this book, I mean, first of all, I mean, I don't know if my edition is the only one, but it looks like this. Sorry,
That's what
camera.
I have.
There's another one that my copy of is bright red, and it's called Play Swiss Teams of Four with Mike Lawrence. He also has a third book called Card Combinations, which you wouldn't think would be in the style, but it is.
Hmm.
His card combinations book is also written with this same partner, Alex, where he gives a certain card combination and then gives three or four hands that all include this card combination and all require you to treat the combination differently. His whole
I think it's
point is
called
like,
unlocking card combination.
yeah, yeah. In fact, it might even have, well, because it has a combination lock on the front of it. But it's a really and sometimes the combination is one you don't think about that much, like Queen Doubleton opposite Ace Doubleton.
Sure, I have it here.
But I love all three of these books. They were some of the earliest books that I got, and I just like the stories. I like that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I don't know what you mean exactly about updating it. Are you talking about like working with Mike to produce a new edition of the book? Or are you talking about making a new book
No, no, no.
yourself?
Working with Mike like we did with Kit.
Yeah,
I just wonder if he thinks about those things. Like it's just such a shame that this is not available to people.
that is a shame.
And I mean, it is out of date enough that some of it, the bidding especially,
Hmm.
might do a disservice to some young, like newer players. But anyway,
one thing that we should do as we play bridge, and not just the two of us, but like as partnership, but as we do it, is there are certain hands that could easily be flagged for potential inclusion in a compilation like this.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
I've
that
written
those,
a book like that. I've written two books like
I
this.
know, and I think that they would make like it makes cool content, and it's easy because the hands already exist and what happened, and Mike does a really nice job of weaving it into a whole story about him sweating the end of a match point result, because he's taken hands over from a long period of time, made a single event. I think my other favorite hand in this book, of course, which is really more of a story than anything instructional, is the one where he and his partner have an accident and get to 7 no trump off an ace, but it's not doubled, and so he knows that the ace is on his right because the opening leader would of course have doubled, and so the suit in question is like king queen third opposite 3 little, and so because he knows that the finesse isn't working, he reasons that anybody in 6 no is going to lead up to the king queen. Right hand opponent will duck, which of course he's like, well, it's automatic, you just duck, blah, and then you come back to your hand and try it again, and now you're going to go down 2 in 6 no, and so he tries the effect of just leading low from the king queen third, because there are plenty of layouts that are consistent with the bidding where like he has the singleton jack or something, and like righty ducking it, that's the 13th trick, and so righty panics and pops ace, and he gets like a 10 and a half out of 12 for 7 no undoubled, and he ends up like these people end up second in the event or something. It was a great story. I don't I mean, and, he claims they all really happened. Just an amazing story. You play bridge long
Yeah.
enough, you see everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Greg. This was
Yeah, of course.
fun. Next month, which we're already halfway through, I'm reading Method Bridge by Matt Granovetter, which I'm most of the way through. It's really interesting. So we'll talk about that next month.
Okay.
Okay. Ciao.